podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
It's Only a Game podcast with hosts Jimmy, Greg, Deg and Matt. Sat in the main stand, bringing football topics with occasional guests. Download, subscribe and stream for a hat-trick of support. Tap in ratings and reviews on your podcast platform. Stay on side with our YouTube channel and social media pages.
Hello and welcome to It's Only a Game podcast. Here to run the length of football are our hardest skeezers. We've got Greg, we've got Matt, we've got Dec, and I'm Jimmy. How are we doing, gents?
Oh, that's not your best. That's not your best one.
Yeah. We're doing all right. I'm doing all right. I just didn't understand that one, but yeah.
Oh, what? Shout out Russ. Russ is the guy that ran the length of Africa.
I don't know who you're on about. Literally, no idea.
Greg,
from what?
He's been running for a
Greg,
year.
do you live in a cave?
Yeah, probably.
Who?
It is a Blackburn's what it is.
He's ran from one tip of Africa to the other.
He's ran from
10,000
South Africa right the
kilometres.
way through to Tunisia.
Is he from the Wirral? Is he from the Wirral?
Amazing.
Is he from the Wirral?
No,
He's
is
just
it
some bloke.
Ipswich ways?
No.
Is he from?
I've never even
Yeah,
no
I don't
idea.
There's his son.
No.
Yeah.
Is that
I
been on
can't
the
believe
news?
there's a bloke who was
Listen,
done.
when you've got a 7-month-old, you don't know what's going on in the world. Like, literally. Like, when you've got a kid, you don't know what's going on in the world. Like, no. Anyway, yes. How are we all, lads?
Gonna put a poll out to all the dads out there. Do you know what's going on in the world? Yes or no?
Yeah, do you know Russ, the hardest
Honestly,
geezer,
things just become so out of context.
Greg's
sometimes.
still on dial-up.
Oh, yeah. I'm waiting for...
Yeah.
yeah.
Greg's on catch-up.
Yeah.
Getting my...
Greg's currently
results.
at the Olympics 2021. Working his way forward.
Commonwealth.
In Greg's head, they're still in the Football League.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. First
Yes.
segue.
Segue.
Shall
Is
we
it a segue?
get going, gents? Well, it was better than awkward silence, boys.
He was.
I mean,
Yeah.
awkward
Football,
silence
yeah.
is the way forward. Football, what about it? Let's talk football. Where do we start in this sport that we talk
Let's
about?
do it.
There's a lot to discuss, obviously. I mean, the title race, for one, in the Premier League is hotting up. 3 teams separated by 1 point.
Man City have also just brought out a Netflix documentary, in case anyone doesn't know who they are.
Have they?
Just to raise the profile a little bit more, yeah.
I've never heard of Manchester City, and neither have Richard Masters from the sound of it.
Apparently
So,
they won a treble or
yeah.
something or other. I don't know.
That'd help with their with the profits coming in and the sponsorship money when it comes to the PSR.
It's just a way of circumventing PSR.
Mike Tyson
Smart.
genuinely didn't know there was a second team in Manchester. That's honest to God. There was an
To be fair,
interview
why
with
would he?
Ricky Hatton and Mike Tyson, and they were like, "What team do you support?" And he said, "Manchester City." He went, "I've never heard of them." This is about
Ricky Hatton supports Claire Sweeney now, I've heard.
Oh,
Sorry?
really?
Yeah, apparently
dear.
he's now with her.
Allegedly.
Okay then.
Allegedly.
Sorry, yeah,
Talk
allegedly.
about-
Sorry, Ricky.
Talk about
Disclaimer,
a mixed relationship.
disclaimer.
Professional man and professional scouser together. That's like
Can the two
absolute
mix? Are the
shocking.
two twain?
Can they mix? Can they
buy a house in
Imagine that wedding.
Yeah. Where'd you live? Warrington. So yeah. Anyway,
Oh, we'll kick it off.
the Daily Claire Sweeney updates
Anyway.
aside, lads. The title race. Well, obviously Liverpool United at the weekend just gone. Arsenal, of course, carry on winning away at Brighton, and City with what looked to be a mad game at Palace in the early Saturday game. I mean, but really, which way do we see this swinging?
Title race.
I still think City are going to do it. I don't want them to do it. I want Arsenal to do it just to freshen things up a little bit. They haven't won the title since 2004. Is that 20 years?
yeah.
Is it? It's got to be 20
Since
years.
the Invincibles, 20 years.
Just to freshen it up even. I would like Arsenal to win it and send the title down south. Just to so that I don't have to suffer with any parades whilst I'm leaving work. Like Man City have the parade smack bang outside my office, and it's like, oh,
You ungrateful bastards. DL.
Inconsiderate arseholes.
This is a weird thing to do, but you could just work from home on that day.
How very dare you.
Man City having a parade in Manchester, shocking.
I don't know.
Shocking.
Get out of town.
Not Stockport,
Yeah.
but you know.
Aye.
Yeah. So what do you think, guys? Who do you think who's going to be?
I'd like Arsenal to do it, likewise,
Me too.
for a bit of a freshen up, and so the Liverpool fans around here stay nice and quiet. But I do think Liverpool are going to do it.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Now
I'll be
gone.
honest.
I don't see them. I don't see them dropping points.
No.
They've got the easiest run in, easiest in inverted commas,
They've got us.
because City have still got to. City have still. Well, yeah, that helps.
Q Fop Mob.
City have still got to go to. I want to say they've got to go to Spurs, which I know Arsenal got to do.
Yes, City have got to go. City got to go to Spurs. Arsenal got to go United.
I think Liverpool play Spurs at Anfield. Yeah, Arsenal got to go to United. Another one.
Which they'll get a good VAR decision to make up for the one they missed out on it.
Oh yeah,
ground. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Absolutely. It's a tough one because like after the weekend, you would assume that everyone was sort of like, "Oh, it's a big dent to Liverpool's," and it is. Obviously they drop points, but of all the games you're going to drop points in, away at United isn't the worst. It was more the manner in which they dropped points because they should have been about 4-0 up by half time. It was hilarious how United got back in the game. I have no idea how they did it, but fair play to them. But
just inshallah, wasn't it?
It just was. I would, probably same as you would like Arsenal to do it, just as something different. After what we are now 7 years of Liverpool and City winning it at last.
Well, 7 years of City winning it, and Liverpool winning it once at an absolute cancer.
You
can't really say Chelsea. It's a bit like when you describe it like a 7-1 game as an 8-goal thriller. It's like, but
it still works. It's 7 years. If the two of them have won the title, at least one. Shut up.
It's true. It's true.
City have won 6.
It's true. Liverpool have come very close on a number of occasions, and
Outside of Liverpool and City, who were the last team then? Chelsea,
I think. Was
Chelsea in 2017 under Antonio Conte. 2017 when Batshuayi scored at Leicester on the Monday night game.
Leicester. I forgot all about
that. Those few years where the Premier League had blue ribbons on because you had City, Chelsea, and Leicester were in it for a few years. Which what a time to be alive that was.
It saved someone a job, didn't it, Jimmy? To be fair.
Yeah. Just put a slightly different blue ribbon. On, absolutely. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't even do that. Bit of spit and rub, get the champagne out. All good.
Sounds good. Sounds like a Friday night in the deck household.
Sounds like Deck's Thursday night.
The social.
In terms of,
but I have to agree. I think Liverpool will win it. I think if they'd have lost the weekend against United, then it'd been like definitively in Arsenal's hands on a points basis. I know Arsenal being 9 goals better off than Liverpool because they seem to have whacked the power teams away from home. But I don't see Arsenal win every single game. There's something about this Arsenal team that they're very, very good, and I think they'll beat Bayern Munich over 2 legs. As much as you kind of think Arsenal could bottle it, Bayern they're not great on the Tuchel as we've seen, and they're a game away from losing the 11-year title stretch. But we'll get onto that, I'm sure, later on with Leverkusen and that. I just don't think Arsenal have quite got the title credentials. They're a very, very good side. They're very easy on the eye. They're very exciting to watch. They're probably the most entertaining team in the league this season in terms of goals scored, certainly. But there's just a soft underbelly, like not horrendously soft. I'm not talking like Liverpool 2014 where they're conceding like 4 goals a game and winning games 5-4 on vibes. But there's something about this Arsenal team that just doesn't look like champions to me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they do it because it's been 20 years and it will be a little bit different. And I think from obviously all our perspectives, wouldn't it just be nicer to not have it in the Northwest for a little while, just to stop fans from our area gloating that aren't the teams we support? But end of the day, Liverpool look like champions to me. They seem to have just a way of, even when they don't play that well, grinding out results. And we look like a team that's very hard to beat, which I know you can say the same of Arsenal and City, but I think City would almost rather go for the Champions League again. And Arsenal, to be fair, likewise, if you give Arsenal a choice, they'll both be gunning for the Champions League, pardon the pun. And Liverpool's strong enough to battle on the Europa League and Premier League front still. And I think part of me is thinking it's the romantic, Klopp fest that will be, where they go and win the Europa League against Leverkusen in the final game and win the league and all that. And it doesn't always work out that way, obviously, but there's something still about them, even despite being behind on goal difference, that makes me think it's still kind of in their hands because Arsenal will drop points, I feel, between now and the end of the season.
And going from a 3-horse race to a 34-horse race, has anyone had a little look at the National for Saturday?
Not yet. No, I haven't. 4:00, isn't it?
I will.
I think it is,
likely.
Any funny named horses?
I am Maximus. Limerick Lace, and who was the other one I'm eyeing up?
They got
The horse,
Limerick.
not the jockey, by the way.
I was going to say.
I was going to say,
What a name.
you and your jockeys, Dak. You love a good ride.
Oh, Meeting of the Waters. They're my 3 picks. Other horses are available.
What odds have you got on them?
Indeed.
I've not put anything on yet, but Iron Maximus is 8-1, Meeting of the Waters 9-1, and Limerick Lace 20-1. Who's won 3 of their last 5 races, by the way?
Never know. You sticking it each way
So
or going
there you
all out
go.
for the win?
Go each way.
Each way on the first 2, all out for Limerick Lace.
You're going all out for Limerick Lace.
All out. Oh, it's got to be done.
Good.
It's got to be done.
Yeah.
I can't wait until 4:30 on Saturday when I'm kicking myself when it comes second.
He's going all out for a Limerick.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's why he's coming second.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
It's not bad for a tenner, though, boys. Must be cheaper around the Salford area.
Copy Road if you want something.
Bloody Brexit. Gone up nearly as much as my car insurance, but that's a whole other podcast episode.
Oh, let's not talk about car insurance. Little reminder, guys, please bet responsibly if you are planning on gambling on the National or anything else that matter. Just a little heads up.
And make sure you're insured.
Go all out.
From the man who never gambled in his life.
Chase your losses. That's the rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, isn't it?
Remember, always bet when you're angry and only bet what you can't afford.
Yes, 100%.
Smash.
Any complaints, email jimmydriver at it's only a dame.
At williamhill.co.uk.
Which is fabulous. That's definitely my email address. Somebody somewhere's got that email address. That poor bloke's going to be inundated. Some fella in Fiji. Like, what the hell's all this about? Like,
What's that going
why are all
on?
these people mailing me about the National? What's going on?
Yeah.
Speaking of debts, Everton dock another 2 points yesterday. Up the toffees.
Boys, these
Up the
segues
Premier
are
League.
fantastic.
These
by the way.
segues, these are the best.
Like that, I thought it was pretty good. I
We've
thought
done well
that on
here.
the spot. I thought that was
We
pretty
thought
good.
we thought we didn't have a plan, but it's all coming together.
It was almost if I planned the betting responsibly bit. I didn't. It just flowed that way. There you
Just
go.
happened.
It just happened.
It's just so experienced.
yeah.
Anyway, back to Everton.
Another
Back
2
to
points
Talk about
deducted.
chasing your losses. Yeah, absolutely. Christ.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
There's a
a good
lot of
thing.
losses to chase
So-
there. And I don't just mean on the pitch.
For people that are unaware, so we've been docked 2 points for PSR breaking the rules, whatever you want to call it, for the 2022-23 season. So the Premier League apparently lobbied for 5 points, but we taught them down to 2 for a £16.6 million overspend, which if you put the maths together, we've overspent by less than Forest, but got more points deducted. It's the best way I can put it.
Premier League.
Odd. Yeah, odd one. And then you've had Richard Masters, who's the CEO of the Premier League today, coming out and saying that he doesn't want an independent regulator to get involved in the Premier League. And I wonder why.
Well, this is why the PSR thing's all been done this year, isn't it? 10 years of these PSR rules. We've discussed before. 10 years of PSR. Next thing, independent regulator. Shit, we probably should start deducting teams' points here, lads. Who should we go after? Well, they're an easy target because they've come forward. Mea culpa. Here's me accounts. 10 point deduction. What? And then we've had to argue back for the points that we've earned on the pitch. And look, I'm fed up with this. I am so fed up. And I get sorry, I might go on a little rant here because I'm so unbelievably fed up of a season where you can't. Look, we've won 1 game in 4 months. Don't get me wrong. We are shite. Okay, we beat Burnley with a sporty goal. Burnley, a little mini revival. Dak showed us something on his phone. It's the relegation odds. Thank God for that. I thought it was something a little bit more suspect.
5-1
to go down.
Later, Jimmy. 5-1
I was
to
going to
get
say,
relegated.
mate.
Chef Weather 1
yeah.
to 200 if you want a safe bet. Burnley 1 to 16. Luton 4 to 7.
That's fucking hell, fair play. Sheffield Wednesday, well done, lads. Yeah,
Sorry, Chef, you.
Yeah, I was going to say that's bloody impressive. That. They came up from League One last year.
It's a very safe bet.
But yeah,
And if you want to pay off your summer holiday, Bournemouth are 4,500 to 1.
You never know.
they ain't going.
You never
They
know.
ain't going,
What are the
man.
Palace?
Good lord.
Palace 20 to 1.
Brentford?
No, Palace aren't going.
20 to 1.
Brentford aren't a bad show.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going. I'm just intrigued to see what the odds were.
I fancy a fiver on Everton.
Yeah.
So have I, to be honest. I thought I'd soften the blow and get some money off it.
If you wouldn't have beat Burnley, you'd have been right. In the shit.
We'd have been right down there.
I look at it.
That's the thing is, like I say, we're crap. Go on.
We've arguably got, in terms of home games, if you ignore Liverpool, we've got to play Sheffield United, Brentford, and Nottingham Forest at home.
Quite long.
I would say if you get 6-7 points out of those 3 games, would be on what, 34, including the deduction. I think that's right. I think I'm right in saying that. It's either 34 or 36. I think it's 34. I reckon 35 is enough to keep you up this season. Looking at who is in around that area. So, I mean, it involves us winning games of football, which has been a problem for the last 4 months, obviously. But there's enough on that. But at least, as someone was saying the other day, at least it's still in our hands. And it is, ultimately. I know we're only 2 points clear. And we've got to go to Luton on a Friday night, which is going to be hell on fucking earth. But, I think the issue I've got is going to be, because we're going to appeal it, because why wouldn't you, based on Forest situation and everyone else, you're going to have to appeal it. So you could end up with a situation where Luton stay up by a point, but we've got a better goal difference. We appeal it, get a point back, and then they go down and we stay up after the season's finished, depending on how long it takes them to get the appeal outcome through. Jesus. Which, if anything, screams lacking integrity. Probably that. I'm not gonna lie. So I agree with Jimmy. I'm just kind of done with the whole thing. It's just, I've got no problem. You know, I appreciate the fact that clubs need to be punished in some capacity. You've broken the rules, yeah, fine. But the whole asterisk next to clubs' names, it just, you know, end of the day, Luton are going to benefit from us having losses in a season they weren't even in the Premier League for, which is a little dumb. But it's, yeah. The whole thing's a mess. The fact that without the points deductions, we'd be, I think, 14th, 15th.
Be 35 points, mate. Would be 10 points to the relegation zone.
That's what I mean. Get yourself to 40. You've got a few home games there you should probably be winning. Get yourself to 40 points and then just start again next season. And now we're in the midst of back in the relegation battle again. And the whole thing just stinks. The whole thing just stinks of I don't want to say corruption, because it's too easy to say corruption. Ineptitude, really. People who clearly wear porn in a PR game. It's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And where, like I said, we're easy targets because we're the ones that come forward and say, you know what, yeah, we have done it. Whereas you're going to have City and... Exactly. And I'm not going to stop the whole, why has City been done? They've got 115 charges. I get City situations very, very different to Everton's and Forest. I fully understand that. But you also know with City that they're far too powerful and they're going to drag it out for
115 charges.
Read up on it. It's very different.
Compared to one. It's a different situation entirely. In a court of law, a case with 115 charges brought against the defendant would take far longer than a case where there's one claim against the defendant. It's not. You don't have to be a fucking genius to work that out. City eventually will get done. It's just what happens to them and what the rules are.
Exactly.
When
I was only in court for 2 days to get off with 112 counts.
Oh.
Did you hear that, Jim?
I'm going to guess Deck. Right, here's a new game. Let's guess what Deck was in court for. I'm going to say...
We could be here for a while.
Does it involve a tin of beans?
It doesn't. No, it's not crime against food. It's interfering with people's wheelie bins. I'm a fiend on a Wednesday night. That's all I'm going to say. I know Tuesday night, actually. They go out tonight. Right, boys, let's wrap this up. I've got business to attend to.
He's got business to attend to, yeah.
Wirrell's bin dipper.
It's a
like a chicken dipper, but not quite as tasty. Green bin tonight. Boy, I'll feast well.
Find a crisp packet in there if you're lucky, Dave.
I think it's our bins tomorrow night. But getting back on track.
What are we talking about?
Getting back on track with. So basically, you're on about Man City charges. One of the lads at work, he's a Man City fan. He's on about the charges. He knows what some of them are, and he says some of them are absolutely ridiculous. Like the height of the grass on the pitch is a charge. That's one. And different things like that. So he says some of them are absolutely insane in terms of if you were to really deep dive into what they all are individually, some of them are absolutely stupid, like the height of the grass that they're growing on the pitch. So some of them are ridiculous, you know, and it's a shame that like you say, will City get charged for them? They probably will do eventually, but as you say, dealing with one charge and 100 and whatever it is, as you say, they're going to go for the one out, then they're going to go for the one that's going to be the easier to sort out. And I think we mentioned this before a couple of months ago, but I don't think they want to come up against Man City, to be honest. I don't think they'll want to do that. They won't want to do it.
Well, the issue they've done now is they set the precedence, but also the only thing that's consistent about the whole thing is the fact that it's been inconsistent, because you've got points totals and things that just don't make any sort of sense, because you've got, like you say, if you factor in that Everton argued down, if the Premier League had gotten their way, we'd have had 17 points deducted this season, which is just nuts, because we might as well just gone to administration and got 9. It's chaos. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. But the Premier League keeps digging its own hole. Instead of coming out and saying, you know what, actually, we realise this isn't working, everyone gets their points back that have been deducted and we'll almost start again. There'll be financial, there'll be fines put in place or transfer embargoes or something on that nature instead. When it comes to City's point, all they're doing is everyone's making that point of, well, hang on, if Everton are going to get X amount of points, what are City going to get for when this all comes to fruition? And it's just going to drag and drag, and they create a situation they really can't win. And the longer it goes on, the more it's just going to look ridiculous, and it already is. And I think people are starting to cotton onto it. When again, we got 2 points yesterday, and everyone was like, well, "Where they got 2 points from? It doesn't make. Where are these calculations coming from?" Yeah, it's hilarious, the whole thing. But it's sad because I'm not enjoying that you might have a relegation battle decided in a courtroom. It's just sad. It's completely goes away from what happens. And if we get relegated, we get relegated. You know what? These things happen. But to get relegated through off the pitch issues would be really frustrating, especially when the rules are changing next season as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're expanding the scope for what you can lose. There's talk of this luxury tax instead of points deductions would be the biggest joke in the world if they impose points deductions and then go, actually not going to do that. One for me as well, and this is not a sentence I'd say very often in the context of the last few years, I feel sorry for Leicester City, potentially, as they've got an EFL imposed transfer ban now because of their financial losses. They could go up and be hit with a points deduction by the Premier League for breaking PSR rules the year they got relegated, end up starting the season not being able to improve their squad because they've got a transfer ban, and potentially a 6, 8, 12, who knows what point deduction coming up from the Championship. In what world is that fair league? Where you've got a team that's coming up, it's hard enough coming up from the Championship to the Premier League if you do things regardless, but even a club that's bouncing back at Leicester look like they're going to do, they're already starting on a massive disadvantage. And for what? For Leicester showing ambition initially, when they won the league, they wanted them to build on that. They had a few 5th place finishes, deep runs in Europe. They had 1-2 bad years, drop down, get hit for finances, and it pulls into the wider point that I've always thought about this PSR is, yes, okay, we don't want to see another Leeds, we don't want to see another Portsmouth go into administration type situation. But it seems to be the Premier League now have looked at other leagues abroad and have gone, yeah, we want our little group of 6 that we can market and sell anywhere around the world. And then we want, and I'm not going to name any other clubs in this instance, but we want the rest of the clubs just be happy to be there. Don't show any ambition. Don't try and come break that 6 or break that top 8. You see clubs that are trying to do it, Villa and Newcastle, I know just name clubs, but they're under threat. There's other clubs who have come from lower down and have done really well to get to where they are. And I will not disrespect those clubs because they've done really well to be where they are in the Premier League. If you think about it, you come from absolute turmoil in the 3rd, 4th, 5th tier to being in the Premier League. Your mentality is going to be different from Everton and Newcastle or Villa, who wants to get back to the very top. Whether you spend your money well or not, we clearly haven't. I'm not here to say that, poor us because we've been run like a shit show. But it seems to be you can't dare show any ambition to break our little cartel up with clubs that we can market anywhere in the world and sell them on post-season, pre-season, mid-season tours to wherever. How dare you? And it seems to be we want 6 clubs that rule the roost and 14 that are just happy to be there and won't put their head with the parapet. And that's how it feels to me now. And any club that dares try that, like Forest did, what do you expect Forest to do? They had half a squad coming up, and they get given Premier League money. It's up to them to spend it. Now, yeah, the owner, the Marinakis, he owns Olympiacos as well. He's known for being a bit crazy. But if it's his money to spend as part of the club, if he wants to sign it on, okay, a lot of players to try and stay in the Premier League. It worked. They stayed up. And they want to show ambition of getting back to maybe not where they were under Brian Clough, but being back at in the Premier League consistently. I don't see anything wrong with that, but clearly you can't show any ambition now unless you're one of 6 clubs. And if you get off decent, one of those clubs will pick your best players off, and that's the way it's going to be.
Spot on.
Just in terms of these 6 clubs, Jimmy, who are the 6?
Well, it's obviously what I like to call is your massive 3, which is Arsenal, Liverpool, United, who are the 3 biggest clubs, supporter-wise, everything-wise, in the UK, for me.
Right.
They've got worldwide fan bases. You've got the nouveau riche 2 in Chelsea and City, who, the new money as opposed to the old money of Arsenal, Liverpool, United, who will always be immune of any financial issues. There was Hicks and Gillette issues, there was the Glazers, Stan Kroenke's had his detractors at Arsenal, but those clubs are so massively supported and rich in worldwide fan. They could sell out anywhere in the world. They'll never fall foul of PSR rulings because they're so big and so well supported. It's practically impossible. Their turnover, their revenue is just beyond anyone else's. It's almost impossible for them to fall foul of it, which, okay, you can say it's down to decades of success, but why shouldn't other clubs have the chance to build that? And then Tottenham, who I must say, have, to their absolute credit, they've not always been up there until recently, but they've been run. And I know they've had their issues with Daniel Levy and Enoch, the guys Joe Lewis and all that, but they have been run really well. Look at the stadium they've got. They've managed to sell players on, Berbatov, Keane, obviously Kane, Bale, reinvest. It hasn't always gone amazingly. They've had some dodgy managers, but they seem to have weathered the storm, built this massive stadium, and are now firmly in that marketable 6 clubs, which is where other clubs want to be, like Everton, like Newcastle, like Villa, like whoever, Leicester, Leeds, that doesn't matter. A lot of clubs, we are so lucky in this country. We've got so many great clubs with great histories right up and down the divisions. And I know I'm going to bore people with this, but we are lucky. We haven't just got 2 or 3 clubs that are massive and the rest are absolute jobbers. We've got so many great football clubs and we're not capitalising on that. We're not seeing the potential of all these amazing clubs we've got, and we'll just go, we're just only interested in those 6. And it's absolutely tragic because it's going to become, and it is, just a bit boring. Like, we're talking about this, we've scooted over the title race because it's 3 clubs that, like, all right, okay. Maybe if one of the clubs we support was in it, it'd be more exciting. That's not the point. To me, it can't get that exciting when you've got chaos at the bottom of the league, where teams are not even getting the points they earn on the pitch. The title race is great if you're only interested in that, but the rest of us are looking around going, well, what does it matter to us? We're not going to get anywhere near it. Ever.
And the majority of us, sorry, just going back to the beginning of the pod, the majority of us were saying we would want Arsenal to do it just for it to be a bit more fresh, really, in terms of City, Liverpool, whatever. As you say, there's a bit of repetition, isn't there, in terms of City doing it all the time and winning this and winning that. And we want it freshening up. I know you're on about the top 6, United, Arsenal and all them, but yeah. Even to the point where we want a team that hasn't won it for 20 years to win it, Deck's got the scores up currently there. Is that Real Madrid winning 2-1? Speaking of one of the top 6?
Yeah, 2-1 up, yeah.
2-1 up in how many minutes have gone?
15 minutes.
Crikey, that sounds like a... Who's just scored there, Matt?
Vinicius Junior, I think.
Right, blimey.
And Arsenal winning 1-0 as well. No, Rodrigo, sorry. Totally.
Bukayo Saka scored for Arsenal as well.
Why are we recording this? I want to watch that instead.
And unfortunately, I bring some bad news. Wrexham 2, Crawley 0. And yes, Paul Mulliner scored.
I'm saying nothing.
To be fair,
because I can't wait for financial fair play to hit them across the face. It'll happen one day, I'm telling you now. Every penny that they've put in is all business loans and whatever, and they're all happy clapping fan base until it all comes crashing down in a few years' time. And I, for one, I will absolutely milk every second of it when that happens. So enjoy it whilst it lasts, boys and girls. Yeah.
Do you reckon it will?
Absolutely.
What?
They won't keep pumping money in.
Well, again, why? Because it's not sustainable.
Yeah. So all of the we've gone from Champions League and
more interesting.
It is interesting.
let's all have a rant this episode. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's rant.
Do it. It's all I've
Rant.
done.
It's all
The
rants,
Rambling
sorry.
Ranters. My
Yes.
personal view on it is, well, the first bit is factual. Every penny that they have put in has been put in via a business loan, which is being held against the Reynolds and the McElhenney, or whatever his name is, their own corporate businesses. So it's not bank loan, it's not whatever, it's coming through them, but their interest rates are absolutely sky high. So for the club to be able to start to pay that back, they've got to be making big bucks in terms of promotions and so on and so forth. So realistically, are they going to get to the Championship? I would say they'll probably go up to League One this year, and they'll probably plateau there for a year or two. They'll push playoffs, they'll be in and around there, and yet they may push to the Championship. But the money that's going to be involved in that, what they're then going to have to try and get back in terms of sponsors and so on. And I know obviously it's clever business from them at the moment, but all of their sponsors are their own businesses. So in effect, they're not laundering money, but they're getting past all of these financial fair plays and whatever because they're pumping in the likes of that Aviator gin, for instance. They could sign a kit deal, and I don't know the numbers, but let's say they sign a kit deal for £1 million, which actually any other League Two club is going to get a shared sponsor maybe for £50,000. But that's how they're able to put as much money in as they are, to kind of bypass a lot of those laws and rules and stuff that are in place. So yeah, it's infuriating. It's clever business from them, but I just think in the long term, is Operation Hollywood something that they're going to stick around for when maybe they have 2 or 3 seasons where they don't just storm a league, because they're not going to keep doing that. The ground expansion with the top being built, that seems to have hit a bit of a brick wall, and that was something that they promised the fans, and they've in inverted commas bought back the ground from the local university. Well, they bought it for pennies, and actually it was the Welsh government who've paid for the vast majority of it, so the taxpayers paid for the ground. There's a lot of things there, and when you start actually reading in between what they've done, great for the local people, but it's not what it seems on paper. But it's given the people of Wrexham and North Wales something to cheer about, and fair play, and I'm sure none of us would be moaning if it was our own clubs. But I just think long-term sustainability, feasibility of it is probably not as good as what people think. There's my rant over, boys. It's been nice talking.
No, it's just sticking with League Two. Is it Stockport? Can they go up tonight? Is it Stockport County that can go up tonight? Promotion
tonight or the weekend. Stockport can go up, and I think in League One Portsmouth can go up at some point in the next few games, because they've got Bolton away the weekend, which is a huge.
I think they're already up, Portsmouth.
No, they're not up yet. No, if they win at Bolton.
Stockport currently winning as well.
Oh,
yeah,
that'll be crikey, that'll be something.
That'll be tasty.
Oh gosh.
So they are now 9 points clear of 4th, having played a game less as well. So
3 games left.
Game on. Just to switch it slightly, Bayern Munich have equalised. Serge Gnabry, former Arsenal players, just scored for Bayern. Switched it back again. A game that affects both ends of League Two. Mansfield 1, Forest Green 0. Forest Green, a cautionary tale potentially to Wrexham fans. I was going to say, just to bring it back to the Wrexham point, I was looking about the history of clubs that have been bought up, okay, maybe not by as high profile owners, but have been bought up by money. And then, so I'm thinking about Forest Green, Crawley, Fleetwood, Rushden and Diamonds. There's countless examples of clubs that have had a lot of money put into them, paying big wages. And okay, Wrexham may be different, and we'll find out maybe next season. But there seems to be a certain ceiling or a certain pattern that kind of emerges, that they get as far as League One, and then they find the game changes financially entirely. They come up against some ex-Premier League juggernauts, and they find it incredibly difficult. We've seen Rushden Diamonds go out of business and restart. We've seen Forest Green now facing back-to-back relegations. Crawley are back on the way up, but they've had some dodgy times, and who knows what will happen next season. Fleetwood are kind of meandering in League One, but they're battling relegation every year. And obviously we know the owner there is not around anymore for, legal reasons. But, there seems to be a thing where people believe, and it's great if you can do it sustainably, like we've seen with Luton, we've seen with Brentford, we've seen with Brighton, we've seen with Bournemouth, where clubs can raise their ceiling throughout the division to become a traditional top 2 division club. But it's so hard to just do by spending big. You tend to find it hits a wall at some point. The history is there, and Forest Green, or I know Rovers have had their battles with Forest Green down the years across various divisions, and they were, they're not our favourite club, but the fact that they've gone from winning League Two to potentially well, they got absolutely hammered in League One and look like they're going to go back down to the National League, where some would argue they belong. Yeah, it's a cautionary tale to the likes of Wrexham, to the likes of Salford, who are currently absolutely struggling. That it's not as simple as pump your club full of money, pump your squad full of money, and you'll end up going up to divisions, and it's as simple as that. So just on that, yeah, the history is very much one of, yes, Wrexham will get to League One. Can they go that bit further to the Championship? Well, you've seen a club like Rotherham this season, who are a bigger club than Wrexham in my opinion, bigger gates, bigger than everything. They were by far the worst team in the Championship, struggled massively and couldn't compete with the rest of the league. So it remains to be seen.
No, all I was going to say was, like, if you're, say Wrexham in theory get to League One, and obviously this is based on teams going up and so on, but just looking at that current table now. So let's say you are a Paul Mullen-esque player. Wrexham are chasing you, they're offering you X amount of money in League One. And then you've also got equal offers on the table from clubs like Portsmouth, Derby, Bolton, Barnsley, Blackpool to an extent, Charlton, Wigan, Reading. There's some big names in there who realistically will probably compete wage-wise, if not actually go a little bit higher. And I think that's where Wrexham are going to have to be. They've been quite fortunate in terms of the squad that they built in the conference was good enough really this year in League Two to certainly compete, and by the looks of it to potentially get them over the line without having to recruit an awful lot, but then having to go and do that again, 2 divisions higher than when you recruited those players, are almost going to have to go again if they're serious about competing. It's serious money, whereas I think Stockport have done it, I would say, in a more sustainable way. Obviously the proofs in the pudding in terms of where they are in the table, but a lot of the players that they signed in the conference, they openly said were League One / Championship calibre players. So they basically formed certainly the spine of a squad that they knew would be good enough to compete for the following 2 to 3 seasons. So yeah, they spent big, but it's, in my opinion, a little bit more feasible. So squad turnaround and stuff obviously is a lot less, and they've kind of got those players tied in already on deals. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks.
Just to point out as well, just a little nod to League One next season, sorry, before we move on. I'm just looking at the Championship relegation battle, which is wild, as the kids say. From 23rd up to 15th, you've got, and look at some of the names in this battle, by the way. Sheffield Wednesday 42, Birmingham 42 points, by the way. Huddersfield 44, Millwall 45, Plymouth 45 as things stand. Stoke 46, Blackburn 46, QPR 47, Swansea 47. Swansea are 15th place. Then they're only 5 points above Birmingham in the relegation zone. Any one of those clubs going down adds a massive club, maybe with the exception of Plymouth. With no disrespect, they've just come up. But any one of those clubs is a massive name going into League One next season, which is going to have a massive budget as well for that level. So to add into the clubs that may already be there, League One's going to be our hard league with Stockport, Wrexham, potentially Mansfield, MK Dons could be up there. All good sides this year. League One's going to be absolutely stacked next season, which makes League Two hopefully a little bit easier with Carlisle coming down, but we'll see.
Gosh.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same, and you look at the teams coming up from the conference as well. So obviously Chesterfield have come up and they've got a fairly good squad, but they've done very, very well in what you would kind of say is one of the easier conference leagues over the last few years.
Agreed.
And then you look at the other teams then that are in the playoff. No disrespect at all,
it is.
but
No, it is.
Just comparably. And then you look at the teams there in the playoff positions at the minute: Barnet, Bromley, Solihull, Altrincham, Gateshead, and Halifax. Realistically, the calibre of teams there, points tallies and stuff are high, fair play. But as you say, looking at League Two next year, it's much more open than recent years.
It's not vintage, is it, in the playoff places, really?
In non-league, you mean? Sorry.
Yeah. It's not like it's not littered with ex-league clubs the way that it sometimes can be. We could well have a brand new name in the EFL next season.
You're quite right, because if you look at, say, 9th to 12th, you've got Oldham, Southend, Rochdale, Hartlepool. They're all traditional League 4 sides, really, including us. We've always been that sort of calibre, Hartlepool especially. But yeah, you're spot on with that. If you look at like Solihull, Altrincham, another one of the lads at work is an Altrincham fan. I've got a bit of conversation with him about Altrincham and Dale and how we're all getting on and things like that. Gateshead are up there, obviously. Aldershot would have been, I think now and again they were in League Two, but not a consistent for 40, 30 years like Rochdale and Hartlepool. But yeah, you spot on there. There's a few sort of non-traditional EFL. Well, none of them, I would say, really. I wouldn't say Solihull Moors is a traditional EFL 4th Division side or anything like that. But yeah, that could be interesting. Barnet are probably the nearest one you've got there, aren't they, I guess, in terms of old EFL?
Barnet, or if you count Halifax, because obviously they had to start again in the early 2000s. They were the old Division 3 way back in the day at the Shea. But fun fact about, and I could be wrong on this, please correct me, any Rovers fans, I hope Barnet come up, only because I don't think Tranmere and Barnet have ever met in a competitive match. They've never been in the same division at the same time, as far as I'm aware. I looked it up. I was thinking, because when Rovers went down, I think Barnet came up to League Two, and then Rovers went up again in 2018. I think Chesterfield and Barnet went down. So I was kind of like, oh, what on earth? I have Rovers and Barnet. In my memory, I was like, have they ever played Barnet? I can't remember, because they were always like a League Two team, Barnet, back in the 90s, 2000s, when Rovers were a bit above that. I was really shocked.
Google, Jimmy, and I can't see anything.
Not even a cup game or a Football League trophy. How mad's that, though? No. Because there's no reason really why they shouldn't play a cup game or something, like a League Cup first round game or something.
I thought you might have played in the League, Carling Cup or something, possibly. But then again, it's split up into.
See anything.
No.
If it's not them, I think out of those teams, I'd quite like Solihull to go up. I've not a soft spot for them, but I went there a couple of times during the. Yeah, they've been up and around there, and they seem to be doing things in the right manner.
Dan and Bromley, for that matter, have been
the goal net.
Oh yes,
the goal net was hanging off when the liner did his check, and I'm trying to think who it was. Jay McEverly was on Scott Davis's shoulders fixing it because the groundsman couldn't find a stepladder, and it was at that moment I realised we were no longer in the lead.
Speaking of Solihull Bridges, I got a memory on my Facebook the other day. I think it would have been the day of the National, when Rovers beat Solihull 9-0 at Prenton Park in the National League. That's not happening next season if Solihull come up. There's no way. They're a much better side. It was a cracking day, though.
2 hat-tricks, wasn't it? Stockton and Jennings.
Stockton and Geno, yeah. Oh, what a game. Anyway, just if you are listening to this podcast and your team has never played another team that is not like, oh, I support, I don't know, Gateshead, and we never played Real Madrid. I mean, okay, yeah, fine. But if you've never played a team that you think, oh, that's a bit curious how they've two never met, let's hear about it. I'd really like to know if any teams realistically could have met and never have, because I think see how big a fixture we could get. That'd be really interesting to find out if anyone bothers to research it.
That's interesting. I know there's a few that we've never played. We've played Liverpool, Man United, XYZ. I don't think we've ever played Arsenal or Chelsea, which obviously you would assume would be a thing, but never in the League Cup or the FA Cup. You guys have, haven't you?
100% record against Arsenal, the only team in England. Played once, beat them once.
Undisputably
against Spurs.
Undisputably, the only team to have a 100% win record at Highbury, because that's not going to happen again.
Correct.
Hey.
No one can take that from us, Jimmy.
How is that not blazoned all over Prenton Park? How is that not? Why do I come into Prenton Park and see Everton 0, Tranmere 3, but not that every time?
Nothing about Highbury.
You got to draw with Crew up there in the cup, but you haven't got the game at Arsenal. I think actually it might be there.
I mean, who doesn't enjoy a draw with Crew?
It was yeah.
Just sticking. Obviously, we were talking about the conference and the conference playoffs. We'll just stick with the conference for a few more minutes and then we'll move on. But I managed to watch Rochdale Hartlepool on Easter Monday. That was a decent game. Obviously, Hartlepool, I think they got relegated with us. I'm sure they did. Yes, they did. Hartley, we both went down in this last season. But yeah, I thought we played really well, Rochdale. I've not been for an entire full year, which was just having a little one and looking after Shell and stuff like that. Just time creeps, doesn't it? Creeps up. But yeah, we played really well first half. We got a man sent off, and then they scored, and then we sort of went a bit flat, and then we scored in the 96th minute for an equaliser, which was absolute limbs, and I did my leg in, and then Dad did his leg in. and there's like, oh, we're raking, like, oh, we forgot how to celebrate almost. But yeah, it was nice to see us. Nice to see Dale in the flesh for a change. I'm hoping to go to more games next season, but just sort of the weeks and the months fly by, don't they? But yeah, it was good to see Rochdale the other day. Good to see us, and we played Oldham at the weekend. This is a bit of a start. We're safe, and I think we've ruined Oldham's chances of going up. I think they have to. I say ruined. I think they have to win every game, and like all the other games go for them or something like that. So
always good to ruin your rivals'
not
chances.
Not too sure if Oldham can reach the playoffs. Yeah,
even if it's just on that though, Greg. Sorry,
all you've got left. Yeah.
Well, hey, don't we know it? But like. Just on that though, Greg, you said like that Rochdale are now safe from relegation. Like, I don't think, from looking at it, you've always been sort of like between 10th and 14th for as long as I can remember the season. Like, kind of, what's gone on there? Because you were battling for the playoffs at one point, and now you're talking about just staying up. And because what's kind of, in a nutshell, you've just come down from League Two, of course. Yeah, I just find that really strange that it's kind of like, oh, we're now safe, or, rather than you were looking at playoffs at one point. Kind of what's happened the back end of the season that's caused you to kind of have to reevaluate your spectrum on the game?
So I think it's obviously we've heard about the thing where we could have gone into liquidation. It could have been all over a couple of months ago. Some Americans were supposed to invest in us, and we gave them a deadline, and they went past the deadline quite significantly. Like, you're talking like 5 or 6 days over the deadline, where they needed to do something because we were on a ticking time, time's running out, basically like a egg timer. So the new one is that Sir Peter Ogden is supposed to be taking us over, who's something like in the top 12 tech millionaires in Britain at one point. So like, he's absolutely minted, this fella. And he has an online presence. People actually know who he is. Whereas like the American firm, it was all a bit shady. It was like somebody was buying it for someone else, and they didn't actually know what was going on. So fingers crossed that it's going to go through this deal. He's paid for he's paying until the end of the season to see us through, basically, Sir Peter Ogden. He's paying for whatever we need to keep us going until the end of the season. And then he's trying to figure out, just going through all the finances and all the difficulties, what he needs to do or what his family needs to do to try and keep us afloat. He has mentioned that it's not going to be a silver bullet where we will have literally millions or anything like that. I think he wants to basically keep the heritage of the football club, keep us ticking away nicely, and try and get us back into the EFL. So as much as, yes, he's got absolutely loads of money, or his family has, and he's in the rich list of whatever, or he was, he's basically stressed the point that this isn't going to be a silver bullet like a whatever Wrexham are trying to do or anything like that. But in some respects, I quite like the idea of this, because he is from Rochdale. He was born in the area. He pumps money into the colleges, the sixth forms and things like that. So you can see it's coming from the right point of view. It's coming from there's a bit of truth to it all. Like you ran about Wrexham before, Deck, Hollywood doesn't quite add up, does it, when they're from California coming to Wales doing this? You think, really, how long's that going to last? But if it's a millionaire from the area, born in the area, still pumping money into the area, into the colleges, you think, it probably does add up a little bit. And if it's going to be anyone to take us over, you probably would want a local fella from the area to do that, really. I've gone off on a huge tangent, but going back to your original question, first half of the season, I thought we were great. I'd say Jim McNulty, we hardly had a squad put together, and we were up there just competing pretty much. Not like, I wouldn't say we were first, second, or third, but we were like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, whatever. Definitely in the top 10 in the mix. And then soon as he got more players, or more players came back from injury, he just seems to struggle with picking his best 11 or tactics, and then it just seems to give him more problems that he's not very good at. So we sort of nosedived a little bit. And we were looking at like relegation in terms of, I think we're like 5 points from relegation, and then 3, and then 4, and then it back to 4 points. And then we'd win a few, and we go back to mid-table, and then we go back down a little bit, and it's, oh shit, we're 4 points from relegation. So it's just been a weird season. But it's always been in our mind that we need to just fucking stay up, basically, because that's just. I know it's people like, oh really, Rochdale never been in that division before. How can you think that? But I think in terms of the circumstances, not having a lot of money, didn't really have a big squad. McNulty's never been a manager before. You think, I'd take staying up. Actually, I'd take staying up.
That tastes like mid-table.
Tastes like mid-table. So yeah, that's a few answers there, Jim. A few answers there. Yeah.
So the shortened version is they've been shit since Christmas.
I could have said that, but this is a podcast, so yeah, that would have been my text answer.
We've certainly said worse over the
We
years,
have, to
Greg.
be fair.
We've absolutely said
yeah.
well.
Oh yeah.
So I guess
Allegedly.
we're all up for supporting Pogdale next season, so that's all going to be good.
I can't wait for the YouTube videos.
Just in final non-league matters,
yeah.
I'm sure you're all very much aware of this league. Keep very much abreast of this league in the non-league pyramid. The Cherry Red Records Combined Counties Football League Premier Division South. It rolls right off the tongue, lads. Which I believe is level 9.
Oh, it's never off the telly.
8 divisions. It's constantly on. It's like a broken Cherry Red record. No, not bad. Right, so the 9th tier of English football, I want to draw your attention to Farnham Town, which there has been YouTube video stuff made about them. They are currently, champions of the division, which you'd think, okay, fine, some random teams won a division in the 9th tier of English football down south. But they've played 31, won 29, drawn 2, lost none. They currently have a goal difference of 89 and 89 points. So, just fair play to them. They've done something very, very, very right there, the owners and the club there, to have stormed that division unbelievably. They're 19 points clear of Knaphill in second, who have played 3 games more. So, safe to say, when they go up to the 8th tier next season, whatever division that's going to be.
Fierce rivalry, I've heard.
Farnham and Knaphill. Hey, third is Jersey Bull.
Knaphill have got some nasty fans, I've heard.
The Knaphill Ultras.
MTV show.
now, Jimmy.
There's the Nappies. But yeah.
The dirty nappies.
Jersey, dirty Nappies. Indeed.
Yeah.
They thought they pissed the lead.
Oh.
Yeah, can't say that.
Yeah.
World gone mad.
Jersey
World gone
Bulls in 3rd, Alton, not Alton Towers in 4th, and a team called Balham in 5th. I've never heard of half these teams. But yeah, no, just a little shout out to this random team that seems to done really well. There is stuff on YouTube about them. They've got a whole model. They're trying to be #United.
Thogden's did a video on them.
Thogden's probably done it. Thogdad's probably been there and offered someone else for a fight.
Can I put something controversial out there, which I know is very unlikely?
You always do, mate, in every episode, but we don't want to see it.
It doesn't involve either of those things, the beans or the sausages. I'm a little bit fed up of the influence of YouTube on professional sports.
Agreed.
Football, boxing, darts. What
Wrestling.
a load of
WWE.
It just takes away from the integrity of it. Sack it off. Get back to, your mum's little basement office in front of your YouTube channel. And you know what? If you're making money off it, fair play. But stick to it. I don't want you anywhere near professional sports.
Does it for football? Because having looked at that situation, they are a genuine football club who have started from the bottom. All right, yes, they got the advantage of having a following that isn't what you would call classic in inverted commas, but it's not as if they've gone in at, I don't know, National League South, for example, or that kind of level. They have started from
They've
the
got an
absolute
MK
bottom.
Dons.
Yeah, exactly. I can give. I agree with you when it comes to like boxing,
exempt.
when it's a bunch of people who haven't got a clue how to box getting in a ring and attempting to box. They are genuinely doing it as we're running a sustainable football club. I can kind of give them that one. It's not as if they just turned up and we'll have a go and see what happens. The guys owning it generally do feel like they want to do it and do it properly.
Yeah, no, they seem to be on. I mean, you could say it's similar with like Dorking Wanderers, couldn't you? With the is it a bunch of amateurs or whatever, and that just is kind of like a sideline off the club. I don't think it affects them on a day to day. And likewise with #United, I think it's obviously they use their profile a little bit, but throughout the season they are just a club.
It's no difference to like Wrexham. Wrexham putting the documentary on
Yeah.
Disney, etc. It's the same sort of idea.
Or there's
But
another
Salford.
club called Manchester City.
Yeah, they got a Netflix
just brought
documentary.
one out.
Never heard of them, mate.
Something to do with trebles,
No idea.
or I don't know. And as you said, it's
Dart
probably just a
space,
poor
isn't it,
man's
I
bet.
think?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
Darts.
Luke Littler, don't get me started.
Oh, what?
Okay,
I
well,
think he's being very, very poorly managed. Is all I'm going to say.
okay.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
I just want to stress that Dak
Moving on.
obviously does contribute to our social media by setting up the It's Only a Game YouTube account. So please head over there where we may end up putting football-related content eventually on it. So the influence of YouTube on football is ever
may or
expanding.
may not.
Which Dak has heavily criticised.
We're going to retire on the advert fees there.
Yeah, I do get what you mean though. Every other bloody video's got some like match day vlog of some scrawny kid with acne sort of videoing themselves at a game, and it's like just enjoy the game, lads.
I told you not to bring that up, Jimmy.
Well, Dak, your vlogs aren't a football, mate, but they're not fit for YouTube. But they're on something else entirely. But like my big issue with hashtag, I must say, I do quite like the concept, admittedly, is that they just need their own home ground. They keep jumping from one team's home ground to another. Now I know there is no town of hashtag, but they can put their stadium anywhere they like in the country. Realistically, build your own stadium, lads. They've got
plans, don't they? They have got plans to do so.
Have they got plans? Fair enough if they have.
Pretty sure that it's
Because
just
I think
where you put it.
If they're going to be
Where could you put
sustainable above like the 7th tier, they're going to need their own, like FC United Manchester. They're going to need their own stadium eventually. So even if you're going to be a grassroots club that's going to maybe be sustainable at Conference South or even National League level, sound brilliant. It takes a lot to get above that. So yeah, fair play to Spencer Owen and all the Jay Deborah, the manager, and all the guys involved there. It is a unique concept that nobody should try and replicate because it's being done. But yeah, just get your own home base. Not other trades places are available, but get your own home stadium.
Get your own B&Q.
Yeah, get your own B&Q attached to the stadium so I can use my toolbox.
I'd much rather that than the lads that record themselves watching the football. But record themselves watching the football from the comfort of their own office and shout and scream at the camera.
Goldbridge.
That's arguably more annoying. Yeah, Goldbridge.
That's strange.
The one that looks like a thumb who works for Anfield Agenda. He's odd.
Oh, the Irish thumb man.
Although AFTV during lockdown was peak entertainment. It was fucking hilarious. Mainly because Arsenal would. It's almost as if Arsenal were trying their best to banter their fans because the reactions were beautiful. Yeah, but you got to watch it. Some of it's fucking hilarious. And some of it's hilarious, but you kind of think, are they doing it on purpose? But no, it's unless they're completely self-aware.
They are just genuinely
that idiotic to do it. It's fucking
sweeping
wonderful.
statement.
It's great to watch.
Yeah, it is capitalising on the fact that your team is not doing very well, which I don't necessarily agree with. I don't
know why we didn't do it. Just be honest, Jim, me and you, Evertonians, we're fucking millionaires. Why didn't we do it for Everton?
Toffee TV have got that market cornered, mate. Ped and Baz got that market cornered.
Rather than Toffee TV, it could be the Chewy channel.
Sounds like you're selling dog toys.
Oh, yeah, dog toys, yeah. Everyone will mistake us for Star Wars fans. It'd be like, nah, lads, you got the wrong. Yeah.
You got the wrong nerds.
Fans are fans. At the end of the day,
they're only fans.
We keep coming back to that, don't we?
We do sometimes. There's a business opportunity there somewhere. But yeah, we've lost our train of thought now. But yeah,
I've got a question.
Sound question. Cool.
We're going off on another tangent. Deck, Tranmere. Let's get some Tranmere. How's it looking for Tranmere? What do you reckon?
Well, I reckon this season stinks of failure and just slightly below mid-table obscurity.
Tastes like mediocrity.
as a club, tastes like, yeah, it certainly does. Tastes like something, Jimmy, and it's not a cowshed catering burger, that's for sure. Where do I start? Atkins, brilliant. Like, what a man. And I think he was and still is the perfect appointment for where the club is at the minute. There's still strong talks of a takeover. Obviously, things under Mark and Nicola Palios are sustainable, shall we say, that they're steady, but I don't think we're going to go anywhere with them now. I think they've kind of made it clear that, you know, they will only put in what's needed to keep the club ticking over. And you know what? At the end of the day, they've come in, they did what they needed to do to save the club. They gave us 2 or 3 really good, competitive, entertaining years of Conference and League 2 football, obviously the back-to-back promotions. Could we argue that we're kind of in a similar position now to when they came in? Probably. But I think in terms of balancing the books and in terms of, you know, the sustainability of the club, I think we are in a much better position. So we're not quite as stagnant as we were. I think, me personally, for Atkins to have signed a 2.5-year deal, I can't see, you know, such a high calibre and high profile name as his having signed away 2.5 years of his career without knowing that something is going to come in, whether that's an investor or whether that's a takeover or whatever it will be. I don't think he would have signed himself up for 2.5 years of kind of like restricted budget, very kind of average signings and so on. And I think that may be why there wasn't a lot of transfer activity in January. Historically, over the last couple of seasons, we've recruited really well in January and then had kind of a push for the playoffs, or better. And we didn't really, bar obviously keeping hold of Rob Apter, which was a great bit of business. We didn't go out and spend really in January. So I, you know, whether they're looking at it in terms of see where the squad gets us this season, which is quite clearly not where we want to be, and then have a big kind of clear out in the summer. So I think it's difficult to judge the current situation until Atkins has had a full transfer window. I'd like to say, based on what we were saying before in terms of League 2 looking to be very open next season, if things stay as they are in terms of promotions and relegations, we should be up and around there, we should be challenging next year, and I think it's going to be very, very difficult for the owners to justify season ticket costs, etc., if they're not up there. Because we've kind of been sold a bit of a dream now for 2 or 3 years where, you know, we'll be up there, we'll be competing, we'll be this, that and the other, and we've dealt with very, very average teams. So, yeah, I think it's all or nothing next season for Tranmere. We shouldn't be looking over our shoulders at the drop. I know that's a bit of an arrogant statement, but we should only be looking up next season. And I think that there's been a little bit of business today. So Joe Murphy signed a 1-year contract extension, so he'll be at the club, I think, until he's 44, as second choice goalkeeper. There's a lot of mixed reactions and stuff online, you know, the cheap option, this, that and the other, but you look at it and you know every time he's come in, he's been solid. Realistically, we've got Luke McGee in goal, who has been arguably the signing of the season. I think without him we probably would have already been relegated. So, you know, is it feasible to waste money on a you know, a good level second choice keeper, or do you know, keep hold of Murphy? For me, that's a no-brainer. And one that's been a little bit more of a shock, Harvey Saunders has signed a 2-year contract extension. Now, for me, I was actually talking about this with a few of the lads in the pub there the other day. My biggest fear was letting Saunders go and I'm going on and being like Mullen somewhere else, because he's that kind of calibre player, really high energy. He's just missing that final kind of finishing piece of the jigsaw before becoming a real good player, because he's got all the other attributes. He's strong, he's fast, he's clever, wins a lot of penalties, free kicks, etc. If he had that clinical finish side to him, he wouldn't be playing League 2 football. So I think we've got to kind of accept where we are at the minute, but I think it's a good signing to build upon. And obviously a young player, you know, it's a thing of if he has a good season next season, he can look to sell on and so on. So business so far has been good, but I think on the whole, I think a lot will depend on whether this takeover happens or what, you know, and that'll obviously all depend on then what money Atkins has got to play with. But next season has got to be more successful, I suppose. I think without the real poor start that we had, I think we would have been on the verge of playoffs. Also, you know, certainly in and amongst that race, and we were up until a few weeks ago. But quite a poor Easter period's kind of, you know, that's dwindled off now. So, yeah, hopefully next season is the year for the Super White Army.
We had a question from Twitter about Tranmere actually this morning. Chris for RAFC was on about Tranmere. Can Nigel Adkins get you to at least the Division 2 playoffs next season? Sorry.
In short, yes. I think he's got to be backed a little bit more financially, but actually, there's probably a lot of wasted wage in the current squad. We've got a big squad this season, but obviously he's inherited that. In terms of the squad being balanced, obviously a couple of years ago, I think we had 9 centre-backs on the books at one point. So I think the squad is more balanced, but there's a lot of players there who ultimately have wasted a wage all season. I mean, the likes of Paul Lewis comes to mind, why he ever came back to the club, and he will not be one of the lowest paid players. The likes of players like him, I mean, I could reel off a list of them, but I'm not going to because it's really not fair on them. But there's a lot of what you call deadwood in the squad that I think if Atkins actually has that money to play with in terms of wages, we're not talking about big signing on fees, but just day-to-day wages, I would expect his recruitment to be a lot stronger than it has been in previous years. And you'd like to think as well, the likes of Apter and stuff coming in from Blackpool, other kind of League One Championship clubs can see how well he's developed being with us as to whether that's the route that they go down. But obviously the loan market is risky. That's bit us on the backside a few times in previous seasons. And, building your squad around loan players where deals can fall through at the last minute. I think you build your squad and you keep your budget there maybe for 2 loanees. And if they come in and they improve what you've got or they add competition to places, great. And if they don't, you've not really lost out on anything. But yeah, in short, I would fully expect Atkins to really get a team, his favourite acronym, together everyone achieves more, to get that team working and all pulling in the same direction. And I think if Atkins can't do it, then there's big questions to be asked around the club, because he's probably the most positive person I've ever spoke to. He is brilliant, and everyone around the club really respects him. So, in short, in answer to the Twitter or X question, yes, I would expect him to be getting us to at least playoffs next season.
Just from the outside looking in with Tranmere, I think you're spot on with Nigel. I can tell he's the business, really. I've always been a big fan of him, no matter where he's been, what club. I always respect what job he's been doing and where his achievements. So I think that's a good point what you're saying, Deck, in terms of if they can't do it with him, then it's probably there's a few question marks there, isn't there? Because in terms of what he's capable of doing as a manager, we know what he's capable of doing as a manager. But if they can't do it with him, I think there are a few question marks going to be asked there, isn't there, in terms of that.
Yeah, big time. I mean, just for a little bit of context, I know we'll probably be looking to wrap up in a few minutes. We were in the semi-finals of the Liverpool Senior Cup a couple of weeks ago. We played City Liverpool up at Vauxhall Motors Ground, and it was really nice to see the number of first teamers who were there to support the kind of fringe players and youth players that were playing that night. Traditionally, the Cheshire Senior Cup and Liverpool Senior Cup have kind of been used as a reserve squad in inverted commas since the reserve leagues folded a few years ago, and there were sort of 3 or 4 first team players, as in first team squad players, if you like, who were given 90 minutes to play. Rovers got beat off the top of my, I think it was 3-1. I can't quite remember now. I think it was 3-1, but we were beaten quite convincingly, to be honest. And there was enough quality out on the pitch.
I think it was 2-1, mate. It was
2-1, was it? Yeah, there was enough quality out there on the pitch for us to compete and to go and do something, and we just didn't. And before the game, Atkins was sat right by us, and we were talking, and real kind of like friendly figure as he comes across. That's definitely not a front on all of the videos and stuff he puts up. That is him as a person. At the end of the game, we were kind of saying goodbye to him and stuff like that. And he said, I'll catch you another time. I need 5 minutes to digest what I've just watched. And I said, what do you mean? Then he said, well, there's 3 or 4 players there who had the opportunity to fight for a contract next season, and they've not taken it. And he was deadly serious. He was just staring at the pitch. And as we were kind of almost the last to leave the stadium, the floodlights were going out, and he was still just sat in the stand, just staring. And I thought, do you know what? For such a small game to mean so much, as in for just 2 or 3 players to have that opportunity, and they've kind of thrown it back at him. And you could see the reaction. I really wouldn't want to be a fly on the wall in a changing room with him if things go wrong. He's definitely that kind of Mr. Motivator. but you can see how much the club means to him, and I don't think he's the softie that he's portrayed to be in the media. I think he means business, and it's good to see that managers are taking things like that so seriously, and rightly so. So yeah, hopefully next season's the one. I know I said that at the start of the season, but there you go.
Superb. What we'll do, we'll wrap up in a few minutes, as Deck has alluded to. We did have a few questions from Chris on Twitter at the same fella, but we can blitz through these. His third question was, we've sort of covered Everton nearer to the beginning of the episode, but his question was, it's for the Everton lads. With the new points deduction, do you think you will survive relegation this season, as you are currently 16th, but 2 points away from Luton in 18th? Yes, with a game in hand in brackets. You thinking you're going to stay up, Jin? What? Yes or no? Oh, he's gone. He's completely gone. But we'll throw it to you, Matt. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, he's given up. That completely. I'll answer. Knowing Jimmy's answer, no. I'm going to say yes, but only just.
It's going to be a tight one, isn't it? Unfortunately, within the circumstances. I do have one Fives question, and then we can wrap up the pod. If you want to do a one Fives question, then wrap up. Do you think that might be a good idea?
If you want, yeah, go for it.
Super duper. I think Jimmy's. I don't know where Jimmy is. He's.
Jimmy's laptop's stuck in the 1920s. That's why.
Okay, so I saw something on Twitter the other day of the oldest clubs in England, which is including the Premier League and the EFL clubs only. So there's no non-league teams in this one. So it's Premier League and EFL teams. So I'm looking for our traditional Fives question. Who are the 5 oldest clubs? So obviously Premier League, EFL, any of those. Mix them all together. Pick one. Obviously one. If it's number 1, that's 1 point. 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5 points. So I don't know if whoever wants to go first on that one. So the oldest clubs in England.
Absolute guess, QPR.
Right, let me just write that one down.
Obviously there's some obvious ones because they publicise the fact that they are the oldest or the whatever. So I'm going to leave them and take a gamble and go with Sheffield Wednesday.
Because Jimmy's not here, I'm going to guess for him. I had MK Dons myself, personally.
Yeah.
Jimmy said Forest Green.
Did you say Salford, did he? Whichever one. I had hashtag United as well, but they're not in the league, so...
I think, to be honest, you could combine the ages of all of those clubs and still be a million miles off.
Unless, yeah. Okay, so we'll go from Matt and Deck's answers there.
Brilliant.
So, oldest clubs in, obviously, combined Premier League and EFL, if you will. The oldest club is Notts County. That was 1862. So that's the oldest.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Wrexham
no,
are up and around
Dons.
there, I think. Jimmy said Stoke. Jimmy said Stoke.
So the second oldest is Stoke City. I think Deck just mentioned Stoke City.
Franchise.
1863. So that's the second. Third is Wrexham.
Well done, Jimmy.
Boo, Wrexham. 1864. Fourth is... That's right, absolutely. Fourth. Nottingham Forest.
International football ground.
Is the oldest, fourth oldest. 1865. And fifth is Sheffield Wednesday. So I think, Deck, you've got 5 points there. And unfortunately, Deck has none.
Get in! 5 points.
No, I had that. Deck has none.
Jimmy can have -3. How's that? There we go. So Deck wins this round. Super duper.
Up the owls.
Yeah, so I think we're ready for wrapping up now.
It's not Christmas time, is it, Greg?
It will be by the time Jimmy gets his internet sorted out, but yeah, so I'll do the customary farewell. Oh no, sorry, Jimmy did say Stoke, but still, Deck has still won anyway. Just seen your message there, Jim. Sorry, but Deck still won anyway.
Internet is fine, but his laptop is being a something else that I'm not going to.
It's the correct day to say it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because lads, we will see you all next Tuesday.
Well, Thursday is the alternative. Either
Take
or.
your pick.
Either works.
Superb. So yes, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of It's Only a Game. I'd like to thank Deck, Matt, and Jimmy for joining as usual. The 4 of us have had a good chat about Everton, Tranmere, Rochdale, the fight for the title. We've had a bit of everything there, haven't we? We've even mentioned teams like Solihull more in the conference. So
it's been a football pick and mix.
because I think that might be the title there, Deck. I think that might be a good one. Twitter page, Facebook, Instagram. You do have YouTube.
OnlyFans is coming.
OnlyFans for Deck. He's going to be...
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming
coming
home,
right.
but we don't know what. We don't know what's coming home. Oh, dear.
Look what the chat dragged in.
Oh, dear me. So, yes, thank you, everybody, for listening. And as Jimmy normally says, whether you're top of the league, you're losing 4-0, or you've been relegated...
Or points deduction.
Or a points deduction, I should say. It is only a game. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone.
It's Only a Game podcast with hosts Jimmy, Greg, Deg and Matt. Sat in the main stand, bringing football topics with occasional guests. Download, subscribe and stream for a hat-trick of support. Tap in ratings and reviews on your podcast platform. Stay onside with our YouTube channel and social media pages.
Sports Social Podcast Network.